Hello, welcome to Sideways. I haven't really got an introduction this week for what will be our last episode until September. But I was sitting in the garden and I heard that blackbird singing, and I thought you might just like to listen to that for a bit. Toxic positivity.
Before we start, are you all right?
Yeah, you all right?
Yeah. Just before we start, I just realised that we took a break this time last year. This was our last one last year.
Oh.
Because we
Does that mean this is our last one this year then?
Well, I was going to perhaps propose that, but
We're kind of airing our dirty laundry in front of the listener then, aren't we?
what, right now?
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you'd sort of be able to edit this bit out, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you know what I'm like about leaving stuff like this in.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay. So this is an end of term episode.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, I was going to suggest that it would be neat because it corresponds to the way we did it last year.
Okay, fair enough. Are you going on holiday for 2 months?
It's a summer holiday, yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
A break, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, well, listeners, this is our last episode until September, so let's hope it's a good one.
Yeah.
Without any fear. That was John Lennon, wasn't it?
Was it?
So this is Christmas?
Oh, so this is Christmas, yeah. Yeah.
I reminded myself of John Lennon with something I said there, but I can't remember what it was now.
No, but it's probably the only time you and John Lennon will ever be mentioned in the same sentence. Or was that a bit unfair?
It may have happened previously.
May have happened. You're both songwriters. How about that? It's as close as it gets, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really, yeah. We've both got hair.
Hair.
I mean, not anymore, obviously, but...
You're still alive. Yeah.
I'm still alive, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of differences as well. Probably. Anyway, should we? This has become very inane. Should we talk about then what we actually? This is one of your ideas. It was on the list, so we haven't actually briefly talked about it, as I was going to say, but we just briefly texted about it, didn't we? To say this is what we're going to be looking at this week. Yes, but before we start, there's a couple of things I just wanted to go through with you because this week they held the. I want your opinion on whether you think this is a good idea or not. But they held the world's ugliest dog competition in California, which has been going for nearly 50 years. I can see by your face you don't look entirely. But just hear me out on this. This year it was won by an 8-year-old Pekingese pug called Wild Thing. Mm-hmm. I think you have to say it like that because it's spelled
Wild Thing. Yeah.
Wild Thing. Was that the Trogs? Who did the Wild? Yeah. It was the Trogs, wasn't it? Yeah. Because he'd been second in the last 3 years, so he was due a win.
Yeah.
Because this year the dog that came second was a wheelchair-bound pug called Rome, and he came in second.
Right.
I think when I say wheelchair, I think he had his, they have those little trolley
They have
things.
wheels, don't they?
The wheels for their back legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just fantastic dogs, aren't they, like that?
Yeah, some of them really kind of take to that and whiz around all over the place.
Love it, don't they? Yeah. They wish they'd have replaced their legs way in the past. They could have many happy years of rolling. But apparently they see it's actually a celebration of their uniqueness. It's not taking the mickey out of them. And also there's a $5,000 prize for winning. So the owners are quite happy to
I wonder if that goes to the dog, though.
Well, I suspect they'll have a few some treats, probably.
Yeah, you see, I'd say that was that should all be spent by the dog. That $5,000.
Yeah,
I mean, without the dog, they wouldn't have won the money, would they?
They wouldn't have won the money. I could give the dog the $5,000, see what they actually do with it. They just chew it up.
Eat it, wouldn't they? Chew it up.
Yeah. So you're not in favour of the world's ugliest dog competition, then?
No, I'm not. I think having beauty pageants for dogs is ridiculous. Apart from the fact that even the most ugly dog on earth is still more beautiful than the most beautiful human.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that. But it gives them a chance, because if they look physically displeasing, it still shows that they are unique and they're still valuable for going in for this competition.
Well, I mean, dog lovers know that anyway without having a stupid bloody competition.
Probably, yeah, true. It's a bit like a Victorian sideshow, I suppose, isn't it?
It
You know
is.
what I mean?
It's like, poking fun at the Elephant Man.
Yeah. Which you
I mean,
can't
John
do.
Merrick would have been a contender in World's Ugliest Human, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But you can't imagine that getting past anybody these days, can you?
It wouldn't pass muster, that's for sure. No, you wouldn't want that.
Donald Trump probably be one of the judges, wouldn't he?
Well,
And a contender, actually.
well, quite, yeah. Yeah. I was going to say he's ugly both inside and out, that fella. But we don't want to get into politics, do
That's
we?
lost us a few listeners.
We can edit that bit out then. Also in California,
Yeah.
so it's all been happening over there. There was I was just reading an article about a self-driving Tesla that slammed into a police car, which I thought there's a certain irony about that, really, isn't there? But
Oh, dear. Yeah, that is brilliant. Yeah, self-driving cars. We're not there yet, are we?
we're not, are we? Especially if you slam into the old bill. You know, you're gonna get your
Mind you,
collar.
you can't book anyone, can you? Really? Because if you're sitting in your self-drive car
Yeah,
and it slams into the police, you just say, "Well, I wasn't driving."
to drive these.
You can't hold me responsible.
No, quite. I think the chap was just sitting there, just reading his newspaper in the passenger seat. Bang! But it was it sort of reminded me of our mutual friend who was notoriously anti-police and anti-authoritarian, and he had his camper van knocked over by an errant police car, didn't he? Which was an awful episode for everyone involved, really. But
Yeah, although I'm not going to recite it now, I remember it gave birth to a quite an amusing limerick. Do you remember?
It did, but it just reminded me that yes, that if you're not careful, you're either going to hit a police car or get knocked down by one.
Yeah, I think if you've got a self-drive car and there is a road offence committed, then Elon Musk should be responsible.
He should be, yeah, personally up in court over it.
Yeah.
Up the beak.
Yeah, he'd be facing court appearances day after day, wouldn't it? It'd be excellent.
Yeah, he supplied the weapon. He should be there with them. He's standing in the dock.
He's no better than Oppenheimer, is he?
I think we've stretched that a long way, but yes, I'll get your point. Anyway, should we drift on to the subject matter then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Toxic positivity. Now, I did look up a definition. Now, you may have your own on this, because I know this is one of your particular areas of expertise. Would you say?
Well, I don't know if I'd say it as expertise, but I can't remember. It won't surprise you to know I can't remember why it crossed my mind, but I remember thinking, "Oh, toxic positivity." That's oh, I know what it was. I was listening to a radio program, and they were talking about it, and I thought, yeah, we should do something on this because it's rife, isn't it? You know, people saying, "Oh well, you know, I expect you'll be stronger for it," or don't cry. There's people worse off than you, or it could have been worse. And when someone says that to you when you've been in a difficult position, you want to punch them hard in the face.
You do, and we'll go on to a few little examples of those sort of phrases in a mo.
Lovely.
The definition I found was toxic positivity is the act of avoiding, suppressing, or rejecting negative emotions or experiences.
Yeah.
This may take the form of denying your own emotions or someone else's denying your emotions, insisting on positive thinking instead. Obviously, there's nothing wrong, is there, with showing positivity? It only becomes problematic when it functions to reject negative emotions.
Yeah, I think sometimes people will display positivity as a way of denying how they're really feeling. You know, so
yeah,
it manifests in therapy. It manifests in lots of different ways, but one of the ones that I can remember coming up a lot of times over the years is where people will tell you something really terrible that's happened, and then they'll finish the sentence with something like, which is fine. And I think, well, it's not fine, is it? It's not fine. Why are you saying it's fine? It's like, it's almost as if sometimes we'll say things to convince ourselves that things are better than we feel they are. which is completely unnecessary and counterproductive. So stop it.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, I think it's, my parents used to say to me, it might have been my nan who said, well, worse things happen at sea.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's an old phrase that was thrown around.
Yeah.
But, sorry, I had some coffee then and it sort of got stuck in my throat. It's not funny. I could have died.
Oh, well, worse things happen at sea.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's good. They probably do, swallowing seawater. But anyway, where were we? Yes, I wanted to look at the Robert Frost, right?
I like Robert Frost.
Yeah, because obviously his poetry is sort of it deals with complex issues and stuff. Doesn't it?
There's a lot of emotion. Yeah,
but I've read quite a lot of his over the years. But there was just one little phrase that said the best way over is through, which is just a short sentence.
Is that actually a direct quote? Because this is a misquote from Robert Frost.
Oh, is it? Right. Oh, okay.
Well, no, I don't know if that is, but I know that particular line is frequently misquoted, because I was wondering if you were going to highlight that one. I think the direct quote is the best way out is always through, or something like that.
Okay.
But I know it's massively misquoted, but the sentiment is spot on.
Well, it is, isn't it? Because it's looking at negative emotions. They're difficult to deal with. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't feel them.
No,
I mean, feeling your emotions and feeling them in full, I think is what I'm trying to say here, really. And whether positive or negative is all part of being human, isn't it? Part of being alive.
Yeah, and in a sense, the antithesis of that Frost notion is what is happening in addiction, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
You're drinking so you don't have to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the only way in which refusing to engage with emotion manifests, but it is quite a classic.
Well, it is, and it is. I mean, the thing is, when you suppress those emotions, either yourself or someone else suppresses them for you, it's not going to resolve the underlying problem, is it? You're sort of brushing under the carpet. Again, the research suggested that can breed guilt and shame and sadness and anxiety on its own. If you get them suppressed, and it can even backfire when you're trying to be positive for someone. That it can sort of magnify those suppressed feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on.
Because they're pushed underground, aren't they? At that point, they're pushed away, not dealt with.
Yeah, and even if your intent is positive, your subtext is you're making more of this than you need to. So if you feel really low about something and someone in their attempt to give you a lift says, oh, come on, you'll get through it and it's not that bad, or, in fact, they're minimizing your emotions. And that, I think, is what can cause you to feel guilty and shameful. You think, oh, God, I'm making more of this than I need to. Yeah. Actually, the reality is that when people say things like that, they're really coming from their own discomfort rather than a care for you. Yeah,
and I'll come back to that because there's a little quote right at the end that deals with exactly that matter.
Is it Gandhi?
It's not Gandhi, no. In fact, I can't remember who it was by. I haven't got a note of who it was from.
Oh.
It's I don't know where I picked it up from. Well, I picked it up from the internet, but I didn't say who it's from. But I did look at some examples of toxic positivity. Because it sort of hinges on the failure to acknowledge or accept someone's negative emotions, doesn't it? And a few examples are there's a sort of a statement and then a typical response that we get. So if someone says, I don't know if I can have a relationship with my sibling, my sister or whatever, she doesn't treat me with decency and respect. And someone would then say, well, she's family. You've got to love her no matter what.
Yeah. That is a classic positive toxic positivity, definitely.
And I've heard that being trotted out before.
Because you're being shamed there. You're being told you're not allowed to feel that.
Yeah.
Not okay for you to feel that.
Yeah.
That's a real dysfunctional, negative impact that sort of thing will have on people.
Well, as well, the next one, for example, if someone says, "Oh, work has been really stressful lately," and the response there would be, "You're lucky to even have a job."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
It's just pushing it away, isn't it?
Yeah, and both of those are examples that could leave you feeling shameful. Oh, there's something wrong with me that I don't want to have a relationship with my sister, or there's something wrong with me that I feel stressed in my job and I'm not grateful enough to, it's like gratitude, as we know, because we talk about it a lot. That's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
It is.
We decide what we're grateful for. It's not for someone else to say, well, you ought to be grateful for that. Fuck off. You concentrate on your own gratitude, mate.
I haven't seen you looking quite so angry for a long time. Apart from when I mentioned the ugliest dog competition.
Yeah, that's where you started it.
I put you in that frame of mind, haven't I?
Yeah, you have. You've upset me now.
Well, you shouldn't be so angry. You've got lots to be grateful for.
Things happen at sea, don't they?
Exactly. Which was the next quote where someone says, "I'm having a hard day," and someone says, "Well, but you've got so much to be grateful for." And again, that's difficult. It's a great illustration about our gratitude list. It's what we put on there, but also it's not a balance sheet thing. The gratitude list is about things you're enjoying. It doesn't mean you're pushing away the negative stuff. You're just enjoying the moment, enjoying the good stuff, aren't you? Acknowledging the good stuff, same as you should acknowledge the bad. Yeah,
but it comes back to, and I think you're probably going to come on to this, but it comes back to the point I was making a minute ago, which is that so often when people say things like that, they want to stop you feeling sad or miserable or worried because it's making them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You want to think before you say something like that to someone. It's worth pausing for a second and thinking, who is this for? Who am I saying this for? Am I saying this because I genuinely want to support and help this person in front of me? Or am I feeling a bit fed up with having to deal with their emotions, so I want to try and drag them away from them?
It might be fatigue if someone is constantly like that. Yeah, sure. But I think it's. I mean, people often mean well, don't they? I think they try to offer a bit of encouragement, support, but they just don't know what to say in a difficult conversation, especially if they're not used to dealing with that particular emotion from someone, and they've not had any experience of it before with anyone. They don't know what to say, and so they say these platitudes that we've done. Yeah. We've done a whole episode on platitudes, didn't we?
Yeah, so say nothing then. Or one of the other useful things you can say to someone is there anything that I could say or do that you'd find helpful? How can I support you? Find out, ask someone.
Exactly. So, I've got a few little examples of that, of phrases we can use instead.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is true that sometimes people don't know what to say, so they say things that are massively insensitive. Well, it's like when someone's died and, you get people saying, oh, well, you'll get over it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That's not in your gift, mate. And I think part of it comes from a difficulty we have in recognizing that uncomfortable emotions have a similarly important role as the comfortable ones. You don't have to drag people away from uncomfortable emotion. It's okay. Then you'll survive them. You'll get through them. And actually the fastest and most sustainable way through them is through them, as per our friend Frosty.
Bobby boy.
Bobby Frosty.
Yeah. Did you? Because I remember, because we had to read some of his stuff at school. I don't know if you did.
Don't think I did. No.
Yeah, which is why I was first introduced to him. But I did quite like his some of his stuff.
Well, you went to a posher school than me.
Well, perhaps that's what it was. What you were reading then instead?
Oh, Tip and Mitten.
Tip and Mitten. 5, get overexcited. Where did I get to? Oh, yes. There's signs of toxic positivity. There's like 5 signs, but they're not that great. But it probably sums up part of what we've been saying, because these signs are, the first one was denial of any negative emotions. That's straightforward, what we looked at. Invalidation of natural emotions, which is what it's all about. The reason that positivity is toxic is because it's invalidating the natural emotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Guilt about feelings.
Yeah.
And inability to respect other people's emotional experiences.
So the guilt about feelings one is really an example of toxic positivity within ourselves, right?
Yes, it is, isn't it?
So if I feel guilty about how I feel, I will try and dismiss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And emotional shaming of others.
Emotional shaming of ourselves and others. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the ones, I don't know if you were going to mention this, but when I was thinking about examples of toxic positivity, one that I know has come up in the, with people who have addiction problems is when people say to them, you don't have a problem. You haven't got an addiction problem. You don't need to go to detox.
Yeah.
That's massively toxic positivity, isn't it?
It is. It is. And
you must have experienced a lot of that over the years.
I have. And in fact, I think I remember the most hurtful, I think, was at one of the fellowship meetings where I was told, because I wasn't getting involved in the 12 steps, and then I wasn't a real alcoholic, and there's no chance of me getting well if I don't do what they tell me. And I've come away thinking that's just awful, an awful thing to say. But the doctrine is it's this way or the highway, and therefore, if I know some people that have got clean without doing the 12 steps, they weren't a real alcoholic after all. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a big. I know it had a big impact upon me. Yeah.
Not surprised.
So how do I? The next little section was how do I avoid expressing toxic positivity? If you can identify it in yourself, there's just a little phrase I wanted to read out, which says, to avoid toxic positivity, try to encourage, accept, and reframe negative emotions. For example, instead of saying think positive, say something like, the way you're feeling is valid. How can I help you? The same approach can be applied to your own thoughts. Now, I think, which is again, that's something which most of the research was about people in relationships or people giving advice to others. But giving that advice to ourselves is so powerful, isn't it? But but probably more difficult to achieve because it's we know how easy it is to kid ourselves, and how much easier it is to be kinder to others than it is to ourselves.
Yeah, I think the other thing about being showing toxic positivity to ourselves is that if you're doing it alone, there's no one there to kind of break that cycle.
No, quite.
So if you do get into this kind of spiral of saying, or this cycle of saying, yeah, this happened to me, but that's fine, it's okay. It's like there's nothing, unless someone is challenging that, unless someone's saying, well, how can that be fine? That sounds really awful. It sounds as if that was really difficult. It kind of allows you to perpetuate it. And of course, the longer you perpetuate it, the more believable it becomes until you get to the point where, as I've seen, people just reach the point where they think they're just very weak.
Yeah.
I mean, this has happened to me and that's happened to me, but, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's not bloody fine. It's caused you a lot of pain and difficulty. And by the way, you don't have to compare that with other people, which is something else people often do. They'll say, oh, this is fine. Other people deal with worse than I do. I mean, I've heard that a lot in therapy. I know other people have got much worse problems than me. And I think, well, how's that helping you?
Yeah.
Your as we've discussed before, your pain is pain and it's not comparable with anybody else's.
No, and when you use it, we're looking at comparative self-esteem. That doesn't do anything for your self-esteem, doesn't it? Does it? No. If you think you're slightly higher up the ladder than someone that's in a worse state, it doesn't make you better. It doesn't make your position any better.
No, I mean, in relationships, sometimes someone will have had a relationship for a short period of time, and it will end, and they will feel completely flattened by it.
Yeah,
and then they'll kind of constantly be telling themselves, "Oh, come on, I shouldn't feel like this. It's okay. There's no time limit on things that happen. Yeah. They should only affect you in this way. If you feel it, it's true. It's real. Yeah, exactly. Your emotions don't lie to you. So the best way of dealing with them is to accept them and get through them that way.
Yeah, exactly. I come across that quite a lot with people in early recovery when they say, "Oh, I should be feeling better by now," or "I should be doing this," or "I should be doing that." And I always say to them that's there's no should in there. You got to let it take its time, let it take its course, and to walk through each emotion accordingly. Yeah,
quite right.
You've spent years in addiction of denying your emotions. You spent years keeping away from them by taking drugs and drinking to the point where you don't have to deal with them. Mm-hmm. Which is why when you do sober up, there's things you do have to walk through, and it's an alien feeling. But it does get better and easier to deal with it. It's a bit of a muscle that you flex of going through those emotions and being used to those emotions, letting them take their own time.
Yes, indeed.
But validating someone's negative emotions, this was the last little section really, which says acknowledging and validating the emotional experiences of those we care about is one of the most helpful things that we can do for them. if someone is struggling, examples of validating and supporting of the responses include, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. Which is, that's validating enough.
I like that one. I really like that one. I think sometimes when people tell you something that's been really difficult for them, regardless of whether or not you have any personal experience of anything similar, saying to them, I'm sorry you've had to go through that, and I can see it's had a really big impact on you.
Yeah.
To validate someone's emotions like that is super powerful. Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, I quite liked that one. And the next one is probably one that you may use this or not, I don't know, but describe what you're feeling. I'm listening. That sounds like a therapist talk. Sounds like Fraser Crane.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit therapist-y, but I think the sentiment is sound.
Yeah.
You know, if someone tells you something and you want to give them space to talk to you about it, you know, you can say something like, that sounds really tough. Do you want to tell me about it? Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Tell me how you're feeling. You know, that's it. It's the antithesis of what we've been talking about as examples of toxic positivity, because in toxic positivity, you're declaring that you know what's best.
Yeah.
Well, you don't, because you never know what someone else is feeling. So if you show a bit of interest in how they're feeling and ask them to explain it to you, then you create a stronger bond, a stronger connection, and people will feel supported if you do that.
You do. The only thing that I was thinking about when you say, no, I'm sorry that you're having to go through this, going back to that one, is that rooted in sympathy rather than empathy?
No, I don't think so.
You don't? No, okay.
No,
I know there's obviously a distinct difference between the two. It just struck me as I was...
I think if you say, I feel sorry for you, that's not great.
Yeah.
But if you say to someone, I'm sorry you've had to go through that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you know, because that sounds tough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No. The next one was, I can see that you're stressed. So effectively acknowledging that what they're going through, that you're walking alongside them at that stage. Yeah.
Yeah, because all of these are examples of doing nothing more than acknowledging what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're not suggesting a solution.
No.
You're not making assumptions about what's going on. You're not telling them how the future's going to be, because you don't know. What you're doing with all of these examples is you're staying right in the moment with them and acknowledging that where they are right now is a difficult and uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's all any of us can ever do.
Well, it is. And the next one was, is there anything I can do to be helpful?
Yeah.
So you're just offering not a way out of the situation, but again, walking alongside them, get in the trenches with them a little bit on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when people are struggling with emotional stuff, there's nothing else you can do.
No.
Stand with it. You know, if someone's got a flat tire,
yeah,
you go past and you say, oh yeah, I can see it's difficult, and then you walk on. And that's not terribly helpful, is it? That's probably a situation where it might be useful to say, would you like a hand?
Yeah.
You know? But with emotions, you can't step in and do anything about them, and it's almost inevitably terribly unhelpful if you try.
Yeah, quite. And the last couple were, I'm here for you no matter what. Quite supportive, isn't it? Or the last one was, be kind to yourself. Someone we trot out quite a lot in groups, really, because it is very relevant to those in addiction or those in recovery. How difficult you can make it for yourself if you're constantly pouring your own negativity all over yourself, berating yourself for things.
Yeah, I think there's a precursor to that one, which is, it sounds as if you're being quite hard on yourself. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're both kind of the same thing, but I think sometimes before someone can get to the point where they can show themselves kindness, they need to recognize that they're being overly critical or unsupportive to themselves. I mean, obviously in therapy, that's something that you'd explore with someone, you know, where's this kind of very fierce inner critic come from? But even in a sort of friendship, you can say to someone, it sounds like you're being really hard on yourself. I don't know why do you need to be so hard on yourself? This has been difficult for you, and it's okay for you to feel bad.
And I agree, and that rolls in nicely into a sort of the quote that sort of sums this all up, really, which I mentioned earlier on, which goes like this: when you share something difficult with someone and they insist that you turn it into a positive, what they are really saying is, my comfort is more important than your reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah. We could have just read out that quote and saved all the flannel.
Yeah, there's a lot of crap before that, wasn't there? Yeah. Wouldn't have been a very long podcast. We would just do a conundrum feature or whatever. And have you sorted that out this week?
I have actually.
We'll be going on to that now if that's all
right. Okay. Yeah, I tried to look for one that might have some relevance to toxic positivity, but I couldn't find one.
No, so it must be quite difficult to bespoke them to the episode title.
Yeah, sometimes I can find a tenuous link.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought I'd ask you this one this week.
Go on.
You've put some alcohol in a dish that you've served to your friend who's in recovery, and they've eaten it all. Should you come clean?
Oh, I'm all for honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I admit if you just to sort of backtrack a little bit, if you deliberately put it in there.
No. So, I mean, I think we've spoken about this before. There have been occasions where I've put something in and I've just not thought about it.
Yeah.
And you've come round and I think, I've just given you something with red wine in it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I would tell you.
Yeah.
But, I was thinking more about situations where you might have had someone who's kind of new in recovery or someone who you don't know very well and you just think, oh, shit, there's a bit of sherry in that or something. And they've eaten it, because people don't know much about recovery and addiction, do they? And they might think, well, what have I done? I wonder if I've done something really bad. Yeah. And I suppose my thinking was about, should you just come clean both for their benefit and for yours? Because I expect people would worry about that, wouldn't they, if they'd done that inadvertently?
They would. And again, you'd really need to, in that situation, I would probably be honest with them, Yeah, so I don't know what this has happened, but they've eaten it. But obviously, I'd probably talk about. I'd ask them to listen to our episode on alcohol-free beer and stuff. Where we talk about stuff that's burnt off and stuff that isn't, and that sort of thing. But I would say, it is one of the things that is going to happen from time to time. And I'd probably say, did you realise, in burger buns, there's more alcohol than there is in an alcohol-free beer? Yeah. Or in a 0.5. There's always going to be some in there. You're always going to come across that. But, if you do have any worries, talk to your sponsor or talk to someone in your group.
So I suppose it's quite good to, not apart from it being, a basis of honesty, which is good, it probably deepens and strengthens that relationship anyway, if you're honest, doesn't it?
I think it does. And also, the fact they've probably eaten it, they won't have felt any adverse effects.
No, but you might worry that they would, mightn't you, if you don't know anything about
If you suddenly saw them putting their shoes on and running down the offie, then you'd have to.
Sorry, I've accidentally given you a party 7.
I think it's very difficult because a lot of times it's depending upon how good your taste buds are, you wouldn't know it was there anyway. There might be a faint, a faint taste or a bit of a whiff, but generally speaking, you don't know it's there. It's sort of hidden amongst other tastes.
Yeah. Good. Well, there we are.
Yeah, I would be. I think honesty is still quite the bedrock of recovery. And they can be perhaps flexible with some areas. I think that one you could say, this has happened. But let me know if there's any problem. Sorry.
I've accidentally flamed the Christmas pudding. Sorry about that.
You could say, well, I'm all right. I'm not an alcoholic. So mine was great. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I'm having seconds. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Go on. Okay, that was quite a good one actually, because it made me think a little bit. It wasn't an instant yes or no.
No, there was a little bit of a gap there, wasn't there?
There was, because I think I'm not quite sure there is the right answer to that one, but
that's why it's a conundrum.
It is, and I'll stick with what I said. I think.
Yeah.
Right, gratitude list.
Yeah, I think it must be. Is it you this week? I'll go first this week because I think you might have something that's of greater emotional heft than me.
Well, it was last week, wasn't it?
It might be this week, seeing as I know what you did yesterday.
Oh, right, okay.
That was on your gratitude list.
It is, yes.
Right. I'll go first with food mixers then.
Food mixers. Now, I've never had a food mixer.
That doesn't surprise me because you don't cook anything, do you?
No.
But this morning, I'll give you an example of why food mixers are so great.
Okay.
This morning, I wanted to knock up a batch of pastry, like you do,
You go to the shop and buy it.
I had sort of 20 minutes, and I thought, I could rub all the fat into the flour and do it by hand, but it'd be much easier if I bung it in the food mixer. So I did that, and I could do it in 10 minutes. And so, that's just a small example, but the number of times that it saved me time and energy over the years, I mean, it's astronomical. So I'm tipping my hat this morning to my food mixer.
Yeah, no, that sounds very good. Obviously, I've had no experience of one, but would you say then if you were starting from scratch and putting building a kitchen, so your new kitchen's been built, and then you're looking for the accessories to go on it, would food mixer be one of the first things in?
Absolutely. And now as I think I'm not a fan of gadgets in the kitchen. No. I like doing most things manually.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of exceptions: food mixer, food processor. In terms of machinery, that's it.
Mm.
So yes, I definitely wouldn't be kitting out a kitchen without a good stand mixer. And if you're trying to, you're a fool.
I'll put myself into the fool category then in that case.
Well, you don't really count because you don't care about cooking, do you?
No.
So.
Okay, well, on my gratitude list, yes, you're right. It was my youngest grandson's first birthday party yesterday.
Lovely.
There are those moments in time which you know you're not going to forget. Yeah,
lovely.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's the wonderment on the face. He doesn't know what's going on. He's just tearing at the wrapping. He doesn't know why he's doing it or what he's doing, but it's still the look of joy on his little wee face was just magnificent.
And he's probably more interested in the boxes than he is in what's inside them.
Yeah, he was. Well, his elder brother was more interested in helping him out, getting involved.
Yeah, that's not a surprise, is it?
It was lovely, and it's nice to see the family gathering together on those sort of occasions, both sides of the family.
Yeah. I expect there were sausages on sticks, were there? And
there wasn't sausages on sticks, but we had that sort of party food.
Lovely,
which was nice. It's ideal for that sort of situation. You look forward to that, don't you? A finger buffet. Everyone likes a finger buffet, don't they?
Although finger buffets are less popular post-COVID, aren't they?
They are a little bit, yeah.
And there is a bit of a COVID thing going on, isn't there now?
There is.
Summer COVID festival.
Yeah,
I can't think of another word.
No, a little bit of an outbreak.
That's it. That was the word I was looking for, outbreak, which is the same as festival, isn't it?
It is in some ways, yes. It's a reframing of that, isn't it?
Yeah, the Glastonbury outbreak. I mean, everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, well, I had my own dose, didn't I?
You did.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is my first taste of the virus.
Oh, was that the first time you'd had it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You've done well.
I didn't like it. I don't recommend it.
No, it was rubbish. I've had it twice, and it's been rubbish both times.
Yeah, it was short-lived, luckily, but...
I don't know what the hype is about it. I don't think it's anything to write home about at all. Why do people get so excited about it?
Yeah, well, people have worse things than that, Think yourself lucky. At least you're still alive.
Died, for goodness sake.
Yeah, exactly. Good. So that's that bit done. What about on this day of music then?
Yeah. This is the last one before the summer break.
The last one before the summer break. So think about it deeply.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, when was Two Tribes by Frankie Goes to Hollywood #1 in the UK?
1984.
Spot on. 2 points. You're in, son, straight away. I know you're a big Frankie GTH fan.
I mean, I didn't like them at all, but I just felt very confident about being at least within... when I said 1984, I thought I'm definitely going to be within 2 years, if not one. So that's a very solid start.
It's a very solid start. And so you didn't like that track? I thought that track was
I didn't. I hated Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
I thought that was a great track. I thought it was quite a new sound at the time and dealing with a political issue.
I don't want a new sound. I want old sounds that I already like.
With no politics in,
Yeah. No, I'm pleased with that. That's a very solid start. I can cruise through the rest. I'm basically 5-0 up at half time now.
You're through the group stage, aren't you? Really, you're through to the knockout stage anyway, regardless of these results.
Yeah.
But this one's a little bit tricky. Well, not tricky, but it surprised me a little bit. Do you know when what year Debbie Harry was born? So her birthday's the 1st of July, which is that tomorrow? It is tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah. So her birthday's tomorrow, and she will be. how many years old do you think? Or would you say what year?
Right, so the year she was born, I reckon, she's older than we think she is. So I'm going to say, she was born in 48.
Not bad, 45.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's 79 tomorrow.
Oh.
Debbie Harry being 80 next year. No,
that's a bit scary, isn't it? I mean, it's quite scary to think that Cyndi Lauper is 71.
Is she? Oh,
yeah, she played at Glastonbury yesterday. It was a bit of a fiasco, apparently. The sound was all...
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
She wasn't having fun, was she? Even though she's a girl, she didn't want to have that sort of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, she was showing her true colours, wasn't she?
by being a diva. But I didn't see that. I've watched a little bit. It was a bit of Dua Lipa and a bit of Cole.
Dua Lipa was fantastic, wasn't she?
A bit of Coldplay, yeah.
I didn't see any of the Coldplay set. I was asleep.
Yeah.
It's too late, isn't it?
It is a bit late.
Don't start till 10 o'clock, for goodness sake. I mean, who's up at that hour?
Well, exactly. So if you went to Glastonbury, you'd be a kip in your tent, wouldn't you, before the main bands come on?
I don't know why the main bands only play to insomniacs. Why not put them on when most of us are awake?
Sort of midday-ish.
Yeah, sort of tea time. It'd be
Late
all right.
morning. Oh, tea time, you'd be right with that. Yeah.
Tea time, about 4 o'clock, just before bed.
Okay, the last one then. This is quite tricky, I suppose, really, because I thought I'd like a harmonica player in the band.
Oh.
In the Dead band. So I went for Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
Now, this is... He was only 26. He was in the 27 club, so he died at the age of 27. But do you know what year that was? Not the year that he died.
Oh, the year he died.
Looking for the year he died. Brian Jones, he had he had alcohol and drug problems himself. So we're kindred spirits, a bit like you and John Lennon. We're both songwriters.
Yeah.
Me and Brian Jones mates because we're both alcoholics.
So he was 27 when he died.
He was 27 when he died. Yeah.
I'm going to go.
You know what year he died?
Yeah, 1975.
No, a bit earlier than that. 69.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was a long time ago. After a very strong start, I fell away dramatically, didn't I?
You did, yeah. Yeah, you lost
like England.
You lost badly to the bottom of the group. The team that's at the bottom of the group hasn't won all year.
Yeah, all right.
But
worst things happen at sea.
That's it.
Good. Well,
that's us the wrap for until later on in the year, until we've had our little break.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good summer, everybody.
Yeah. Have a good summer holiday. I hope the weather cheers up wherever you are.
The weather's fine. Look, it's cloudy. That's exactly what we want.
It's miserable out there.
It's cloudy. Yeah. It's probably going to rain. Exactly what we want for the
proper
summer.
British weather.
Exactly.
We know where we are, don't we?
Exactly. All right.
Okay, mate.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.